Part 2, Legacy Unveiled. The name Admiral Jared Blackburn seemed to hang in the air of the command bridge. Even the ship's ambient hum felt muted as the Ventari officers processed what they'd just heard. Drakkar recovered quickly, his scales darkening to a deeper crimson as blood rushed to his face. A convenient claim, human child. Admiral Blackburn is a ghost story the Imperium uses to frighten incompetent commanders. Then why did 6 of your officers just lose their composure? Nikolai asked, nodding toward the bridge crew who were frantically trying to appear busy at their stations. Lieutenant Vexer stepped closer, his voice lowered. Warlord, if there is even a possibility this human speaks truth. Silence. Drakkar hissed. He circled Nikolai again, this time studying him more carefully. The boy did have Blackburn's eyes, that same unnerving blue that had stared out from intelligence briefings and battle recordings. The jaw structure, too, was similar. If you are Blackburn's offspring, Drakkar said slowly, then you are not merely a spy, but a strategic asset of incalculable value. Nikolai shrugged, the gesture oddly adult on his young frame. I'm just a kid who misses his dad. Who happens to know exactly where I am by now. A nervous trill ran through the bridge crew. One junior officer actually stepped back from her console, claws twitching anxiously. Admiral Blackburn disappeared after the Battle of Proxima Sentinel, Vexer pointed out. No confirmed sightings in 3 cycles. Do you really think, Nikolai replied with a patience that made him seem far older than his years, that the man who crippled your entire 3rd Fleet at Proxima couldn't stay hidden if he wanted to? He's been watching. Waiting. Building. Drakkar slammed his fist into the nearest wall, leaving a dent in the metal. Track every human vessel within 2 parsecs. Lock down all communication channels. Deploy the hunter-seekers. It's already too late, Nikolai said quietly. Dad always said the Ventari had one critical weakness: you never expect humans to be steps ahead. The ship's alert system suddenly blared to life. On the main viewscreen, tactical displays showed 3 unidentified vessels dropping out of FTL at the edge of sensor range. Unknown ships on approach vector, called out the sensor officer, her voice rising in pitch. Signatures do not match any known configuration. Drakkar grabbed Nikolai by the shoulder, his claws digging into the boy's flesh. Is this him? Is this your father's doing? For the first time, Nikolai smiled fully. No. This is something else entirely. The viewscreen shifted to show the approaching vessels, sleek, dark ships that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. They moved with impossible precision, forming a triangle around the Eternal Dominion. Those aren't my father's ships, Nikolai said calmly as the bridge erupted into frantic activity. Those belong to my mother. Commander Lyra Blackburn, Special Operations Division. Dad was always the diplomatic one of the family. Drakkar's face had gone pale beneath his crimson scales as recognition dawned. The Black Ghost Fleet, rumors he'd dismissed as human propaganda. You should have just let me go, Nikolai added softly. Now you've got both my parents angry. Part 1, The Prisoner's Defiance. The massive warship, Eternal Dominion, hung in space like a predatory beast, its jagged silhouette blotting out the stars behind it. On the command bridge, Supreme Warlord Drakkar of the Ventari Imperium paced before the viewport, his scaled skin reflecting the harsh lighting as his tail swished impatiently behind him. Bring in the human, he commanded, voice rumbling through the chamber. 2 guards entered, dragging between them a boy who couldn't have been more than 14 standard years. Despite his disheveled appearance and the restraints binding his wrists, the human child stood straight, his blue eyes taking in the alien technology with undisguised curiosity rather than fear. This is the spy. Drakkar laughed, a sound like stones grinding together. This hatchling barely out of its growth phase. Lieutenant Vexer, Drakkar's second-in-command, stepped forward. He was caught accessing restricted terminals in the Argos outpost, Warlord. The security protocols were level 9, systems that even our specialists struggle to breach. Dracker's yellow eyes narrowed as he circled the boy. The human was small, with dark hair and a thin frame that looked fragile enough to snap between two claws. Yet there was something in his stance, a quiet confidence that irritated the warlord. "What's your designation, human?" Dracker demanded. "My name is Nikolai," the boy answered, his voice steady despite his circumstances. "Names are meaningless. I asked for your designation, your purpose, your faction." The warlord slammed his armored fist against a nearby console, sending sparks flying. Nikolai didn't flinch. "I'm just a kid who's good with computers. I was curious about your systems." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Humans were known to be unpredictable, but this level of composure was unusual, especially in one so young. Curiosity, Dracker spat the word like venom. "Your species' favorite excuse for espionage and sabotage. The Ventari Imperium has conquered 17 systems precisely because we understand that knowledge is power." He leaned down until his face was inches from Nikolai's. "And power belongs to the strong. Is that why you're attacking defenseless research stations?" Nikolai asked, a hint of steel entering his voice. The warlord's ridge of spine stiffened in surprise. "You presume to question me, human child? Perhaps I should demonstrate what happens to spies in Ventari space." Lieutenant Vexer cleared his throat. "The human has unusual neural patterns, sir. Our scans indicate potential for tactical value. The Science Division has requested examination before disposal." Dracker waved a dismissive claw. "Take him to interrogation. Extract whatever information his primitive brain contains, then send him to the labs." He turned away, considering the matter closed. "My father once said the Ventari were intelligent," Nikolai called out suddenly. "I'm starting to think he was mistaken." The bridge fell silent. No prisoner dared speak to the Supreme Warlord this way. Dracker turned slowly, his expression darkening. "Your father? Some insignificant human diplomat or traitor, no doubt. His opinion matters less than space dust." A small smile played across Nikolai's lips. "My father is Admiral Jared Blackburn." The name hit the bridge like a physical blow. Several officers visibly recoiled. Even Lieutenant Vexer's composed demeanor cracked, his secondary breathing slits flaring wide. Dracker's yellow eyes widened before narrowing to slits. "Impossible. Blackburn has no offspring." "That's what everyone was supposed to think," Nikolai replied calmly. "For my protection. Guess that plan's over now." Supreme Warlord Dracker, conqueror of 17 systems, slayer of the Krell Dominion, found himself momentarily speechless as he stared at the boy who claimed to be the son of the only human ever to defeat a Ventari armada. Part 3, The Ghost of a Legend. The silence on Vexus's command deck was so thick it felt like the air had turned to stone. His crew, hardened mercenaries who had butchered entire worlds, now stood frozen, their weapons slack in their grips. The boy's words hung in the air like a death sentence. Captain Rylan Holt. A name that should have been erased from history. A ghost that refused to die. Vexus's mandibles twitched, his mind racing. No. It wasn't possible. Holt had been executed years ago, his ship torn apart in the Battle of Krellis Pass. The warlords had made sure of it. They had broadcast his death across the galaxy as a warning: defy the Empire, and you would be erased. And yet, this boy, with his father's defiant glare, stood before him, unbroken. The warlord seized the child by the collar, lifting him until their faces were inches apart. "Liar," he snarled. Holt died screaming. "I watched the feed myself." The boy didn't flinch. "You watched what they wanted you to see." A flicker of doubt wormed its way into Vexus's mind. Had it been a trick? Had Holt somehow survived? The implications were catastrophic. If the legendary human captain was still alive, then the warlord's grip on the fringe systems was already crumbling. Memories surged, Holt's last stand. The way his tiny, outgunned frigate had taken down 3 dreadnoughts before finally being overwhelmed. The way he had laughed over the comms as his ship burned, promising, "You'll remember this day when the reckoning comes." And now, his son stood here, smiling like he knew something Vexus didn't. The warlord's grip tightened. "Where is he?" The boy's grin widened. "Closer than you think." Then the alarms blared. A ship, unmarked, sleek, and deadly, had just dropped out of warp right above them. And its transponder code was broadcasting one name, Holt's Revenge. Part 4, The Trap is Sprung. The alarms screamed through the warship like a dying beast, klaxons flashing crimson as the crew scrambled to battle stations. Vexus's claws dug into the armrests of his command throne, his compound eyes flicking between the boy, still standing there with that infuriating calm, and the tactical displays that now flared with incoming threats. The ship's AI spat out damage reports before the first shot had even been fired, hull integrity compromised. Shield modulation detected. Weapons systems unresponsive. This wasn't an ambush. This was a slaughter waiting to happen. The boy, Holt's son, smiled. Not the smile of a child, but the smile of a hunter watching prey stumble into a snare. "You really thought you were the predator here?" he asked, tilting his head. "My father taught me better than that." Vexus's mandibles clenched. He had fought in 100 battles, crushed rebellions, glassed worlds. But this? This was different. This was personal. The comms crackled to life, and a voice Vexus had hoped never to hear again, echoed through the bridge. "Commander Vexus." Every warrior on deck froze. Even the ship's engine seemed to quiet, as if the void itself was holding its breath. The boy's grin widened. "Told you he was closer than you thought." The revelation of Holt's survival. The view screen flickered, static dancing across its surface before resolving into the face of a man who was supposed to be dead. Captain Rylan Holt. His face was older now, scarred where there had once been only defiance, but his eyes, those piercing, ice-cold eyes, were the same. The same eyes that had stared down an entire armada and laughed. "You look surprised, Vexus," Holt said, his voice a low, dangerous rumble. "Did you really think a few torpedoes and a staged execution vid would be enough to kill me?" Vexus's secondary heart pounded. The warlords had made sure the footage was convincing. They had paraded Holt's corpse through the core worlds. They had burned his name from the records. And yet here he was. Alive. Angry. The boy's true role. The boy, Jace Holt, stepped forward, no longer playing the frightened captive. His posture straightened, his voice losing all traces of youth as he addressed Vexus with the precision of a soldier. "You took the bait perfectly. We knew you couldn't resist an undefended colony. Especially one with a child just left behind." Vexus's blood ran cold. This hadn't been a raid. This had been a trap. And he had walked right into it. The warlord's downfall. Holt's ship, the Revenant, locked weapons. Not just any weapons, human weapons. The kind that didn't just punch through shields. The kind that rewrote the laws of physics on impact. Vexus's tactical officer hissed in panic. "Sir, they're firing solution, it's not targeting our engines or weapons. They're aiming for the containment fields." The realization hit Vexus like a plasma round to the chest. Holt wasn't here to destroy his ship. He was here to free the prisoners. The final warning. Holt leaned forward on the view screen, his face filling the bridge like a specter of vengeance. "You have 10 seconds to surrender, Vexus." After that? A pause. A smile. "Well. Let's just say I've been waiting a long time to return the favor." The countdown began. 10. 9. 8. Vexus had faced death before. But this? This was something worse. This was justice.